Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and there's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everybody, to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast. This is the podcast for Packer fans who refuse to watch football at noon on Sunday. I am your host, Charles. With me, as always, my co-host, Marcus. Marcus, how are you?
Doing well, Charles. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you. Like I mentioned, we refuse to watch football on noon on Sunday because, once again, the Packers are playing another primetime game. I believe our third of the season, 3:30 this Sunday afternoon against your Pittsburgh Steelers. Marcus, how you feeling about Pittsburgh?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm confident that this team can win. Pittsburgh's traveling to Green Bay. We've got home field advantage. They've been struggling a little bit this year. They've allowed a lot of sacks on Roethlisberger. I think they've been sacked 8 times this year, which makes me feel a little optimistic about our defensive line's chances against their offensive line. They also haven't put up a ton of points this year. I think they're bottom 5 in the league as far as points per game right now. So, again, an opportunity for our defense to tighten up a little bit. And, I think we've got a really strong offense. So if we can put up 30 points, I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely could go one of two ways, right? This could be another get-right game. Not that we need to get right after that amazing game in San Francisco, but it could be another confidence builder, beating another big name, at least, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about how good they are shortly. Or this could be another dogfight, right? Last week looked to be like it could be a blowout, and then it got a little tight. This is a game where hopefully we take care of business early and we kind of are playing with that comfortable lead. Especially with some of the things you just mentioned. Their offense has not been explosive. Roethlisberger averaged less than 7 yards per pass attempt in the first 3 games of the season so far. And they have not been a huge downfield explosive play team. Juju Smith-Schuster has been playing hurt, so maybe he's a little handicapped here. And if he's ready to go this Sunday, perhaps that's something you need to watch for. But kind of like last week against the 49ers, they didn't do a lot of downfield plays, and I think we just need to really rely on our corners playing tight and our linebackers, moving laterally quickly and stopping that screen pass, stopping that quick out to receivers, and making sure that those quick dink and dunk plays don't grind us down here Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about trying to keep the play in front of you in those situations, but you also can't allow yourself to get, death by 1,000 cuts, as they say. So
Right.
We've seen teams move the ball on us like that consistently for an entire game, and it's really frustrating. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe they're not getting 25, 30-yard chunk plays, but if they're throwing 4, 6, 7 yards and just moving the chains, I mean, that's also going to disrupt everything you're trying to do as well. So I think it's trying to find that balance of keeping everything in front of you, getting after Ben Roethlisberger, trying to knock him around a little bit, and stopping their run game. I think they've been having trouble running the ball as well this year. So I think if the Packers are allowed to kind of keep that trend alive for them, that might force them into making some throws down the field, especially if they're playing from behind. So if we can get up to a lead early, force them into those situations, force Roethlisberger into making a mistake or two, I think that's going to bode well.
100%. I mean, if we can, to your point, the running game has been struggling. Like every game ever, we'll always say, we really want to get these guys into 3rd and long situations, right? What team do you not want to do that? This game, specifically, because, like I said, they're kind of reliant on these quick-hitting passes. And Roethlisberger, of all the older quarterbacks out there right now, Roethlisberger seems to be showing his age the most. He's not the most mobile quarterback, and he's definitely susceptible to some sacks. He's had a quarterback rating, to the low 80s, high 70s so far this season. And if we can get after them, I know we always say Rashawn Gary, it's time to shine. Let's get some pressure on them. I'm going to be looking at those, kind of probably our weaker part of our defense and our inside linebacking core. Those are the guys, right? Chris Barnes, who's questionable to play, Campbell, Ty Summers, Owen Burks. Like, those are the guys I think that really need to step up, have a big run stop defense, but then also let's get after Ben Roethlisberger like we got after Garoppolo last week.
Yeah, and with Chris Barnes likely, well, we don't know. He was a limited participant in practice for Thursday and Friday, so he may play. But yeah, I mean, if we have to rely on Oren Burks and Ty Summers, I'm a little bit more concerned. But again, against this running game from the Steelers, I wouldn't say I'm worried. You know what I mean? I think these guys can handle this game if we're out Chris Barnes for a game. And guys like Campbell have been playing really well, so he just kind of flies all over the field. So I think he can be kind of that kind of all over the field linebacker for us if we need him to be. So again, not too concerned with this running game in our middle linebacking core, but that said, I'd love to see a little bit more from our pass rush. I know they were getting some good pressure last week against Garoppolo, but I'd like to see them finish some plays. It seems like Rashawn Gary is still not, I mean, he's effective, but it seems like sometimes he's just so fast, or he just kind of has so much momentum that he kind of maybe bowls over his blocker and then runs himself past the quarterback or out of the play. I don't know if you've noticed that at all, or if I'm off base here, but I'd love to see him get home a couple times. It just seems like he's always really close, but then can't seem to finish the play. And then that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he can generate pressure and he can get the his blocker into the quarterback's face and he can collapse the pocket. But again, it's not the production we've seen from Zadarius Smith the last couple of years, or even Preston Smith in his first season here.
Yeah, let's just say I am very excited for Zadarius to come back, not because I don't believe in Rashawn Gary, but just to have more pressure coming from both sides of the ball. I think you will see Rashawn Gary does appear to have taken another step forward to me, right? The eye test, he seems to be passing it, but he's not having that MVP type season right now. I think if we can balance him out with Zadarius here in a few weeks, I think that'll be the game changer, hopefully, for his season and his launching off point for his career. But yeah, I think overall you and I are saying the same thing. Let's get some third down stops, right? Let's not allow what happened in that first drive of the second half in San Francisco to happen. We cannot allow 6, 7, 8 drives, 8-minute drives, because we know what happens. So it's 9 out of 10 times end with touchdowns with this defense so far. So let's get off the field early, and let's let our best defense be our offense. And speaking of offense, how do you feel about the Packers matching up with this defense? Are you expecting big numbers? Are you expecting more of a grind game? I guess, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think our defense matches up pretty well against the Steelers. Again, they're not a beat you down the field type of team, at least not yet at this point in the season. I think we're going to be able to stop the running game. I think we have, some strong gaps up the middle with Kenny Clark. TJ Slayton has been playing well, so I think we match up pretty well. Again, I just don't want to see, all these quick throws getting behind our defensive line in front of our linebackers, and then have it be, where our defense can't get off the field on third down. Especially in third and long type of situations. Right. We are at the bottom. I think we're ranked 30th or 31st in the league in third down.
Gross.
Yeah, for our defense. So it's just like, man, you really have to tighten that up. You have to figure out how to get off the field, because that is just a recipe for disaster, because you're extending drives, your defense is getting tired, and, by the end of the game, you can't stop anybody.
Yep. Well, offensively, Packers offensively, I don't know. To me, because it worked so well last week, I think we should just make up the play the day before on the dirt with Aaron and Devontae. Do you think that would be a good recipe for success?
No, I don't. I think it's awesome what they were able to do last week. I don't think you can live in that type of situation. Hopefully, you have these plays schemed up, well in advance. That said, it wasn't like this was drawn in the dirt. I mean, they had talked about this play a couple days earlier, I think, but at points in that game, sometimes you just have to play sandlot football. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like pitch and catch from Aaron to Devontae, and I'm okay with that to an extent. But again, we talk about this all the time, but it's like, Devontae is arguably the best receiver in the game, but you'd like to see some of these other guys get utilized a little bit more.
Well, we're going to make it a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit harder to spread the ball around because MVS is out, already officially out for Sunday's game. How does the deep threat being gone essentially change our game plan in your mind? I mean, does that change up the play action? Does that change up, some of our schemes for Sunday, or do you think just next man up and kind of keep the same playbook going?
I think it's going to stay the same for the most part. I mean, we saw last week and the week before, Alan Lazard and Tunyon able to get behind the defensive backs and the linebackers in some cases. So if you remember that I think that was the first third down of the game on offense where Rodgers dropped back and hit Lazard for like a 25-yard strike on the right sideline. So he is a guy, I mean, he's not as fast as MVS. Nobody on the team is, but there's an opportunity there, I think, to try to open up those options for other guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a play schemed up like that for Lazard or even for Tunyon. And I think this might be one of those games where we have to get Randall Cobb involved a little bit more.
Yes. And Amari. Come on.
Amari Rodgers.
18 targets combined. Let's go.
Right. So, we'll see. I mean, I don't know what the trust level is like with Amari Rodgers, but I think he's one of our faster receivers at this point. So maybe trying to scheme him open and see what we got, because I know they were doing that with MVS early in his career with Green Bay, and he dropped a lot of those balls. But maybe we give Amari Rodgers a shot in one of those kind of long attempts.
Love it. Yeah, I would love to see. I would love. I was just thinking about this. Since we started the podcast last year. There hasn't been an episode that's gone by where we haven't said we gotta stop targeting Devontae so often, and that's straight. I was thinking about that this week because it's strange because the days of Brett Favre and Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, I feel like you always heard like it was always hard to pick a receiver for Green Bay in fantasy because Aaron would spread the ball around so much, right? A guy you had never heard of would score a touchdown. So it's just strange how that narrative has flipped the last couple of years where we're just targeting, again, one of the best receiver in the NFL. But it's interesting to me that we still are having a hard time spreading that ball around. So, long story short, I would love this to be the game where we really spread that ball around. Because this might be a game where we need some more quick hitters, kind of like I was mentioning with the Steelers, because their guy, T.J. Watt, Wisconsin native, J.J. Watt's, of course, little brother, is slated to play again. And this defense noticed when T.J. was not in the game. I believe T.J. had 2 or 3 sacks in week 1. And then was injured and was unable to play, and that defense did not put up any sacks or even any quarterback hits against the Bengals last week. So if TJ is playing, which he is, like I said, slated to do, another big test for this offensive line, because the Steelers were a team that I think had a record-breaking number of sacks just a season ago.
Yeah, and we saw it last week with Joey Bosa, and this is another big test with TJ Watt. Looks like Elton Jenkins is not going to play again this week, so Josh Nijman and those rookies on the offensive line are going to have their hands full again this week. I guess the positive there is they held up pretty well. A couple of calls last week, but other than that, they played pretty well and they were able to protect Rodgers for the most part. So another challenge for them, but hopefully these are some opportunities for them to gain a lot of experience, build some character, and kind of galvanize this offensive line moving forward. And in the next 4 weeks when we get Jenkins and Bakhtiari back, I mean, this could be one of the best lines in the league.
Oh, 100%. And again, if we can protect Rodgers more with scheme than relying on that head-to-head matchup, right? Those quick hitters, those play actions that they're biting, and then we got the over the top to the Lazard or to Devontae. I think that will just work in our favor. Hopefully, TJ, obviously you don't want to wish injuries, but hopefully he's a step slower against us, and he's not roughing up our guy Aaron. This week on Sunday afternoon.
All right, perfect. Well, hey, before we get into our predictions, let's talk a little bit about who's our guy in offensive defense. Let's start with defense. Who's